watching Morning at NTV.
Good morning. Welcome back to Morning at NTV. My name is Malaki Vilodera. Now today on the Kickstarter segment, we'll be talking about what we saw a few days ago, and this is the police laying off some of the flying squad operatives. And so what does this mean for the country? But before I tell you who I have in studios, let's take a look to refresh our memory.
The police moved to disband the flying squad after public concerns over recent violent arrests aimed at curbing crime. The notice disbanding the flying squad was dated 5th November, indicating among others that, and I quote, their services have been terminated with effect from today 5th November 2018 till further notice. The police confirmed this. According to Vincent Sekati, the spokesperson for the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, the unit has had masqueraders carrying out various criminal activities in the name of the police.
Time had reached where we had started getting some issues, people raising concerns over the way they operate. They could do things that are contrary to what we are supposed to do.
Our investigation into the matter drew us to an incident at Mutesa 2 Stadium at Wankulukuku on the 28th October 2018. Sources tell us that 4 members of the flying squad unit stormed a music show to effect the arrest of a suspected criminal, which turned chaotic, and the area police were forced to swing into action, arresting the hunter and the hunted. On 30th October, another group of flying squad attacked Chitebi police station to rescue their colleagues. Exchange of fire was reported. Sekate confirmed the incidents except the gunfire shootouts.
So now these people are taken to Chitebi, locked up there. Of course, the person they had gone to arrest plus the operatives. That was around 28th. Around the 30th, some people from flying squad mobilized themselves to go and see how best they can rescue their colleague. So in the process, there was some kind of commotion, and they aided their colleagues to escape from custody.
However, a day after the flying squad was terminated, security analysts have expressed fear that the crime rate could increase if the disbanded operatives aren't given an alternative.
Their source of livelihood was curry. So now they don't have a livelihood because curry is incarcerated. The second problem is that they are armed and they are wanted.
Freddie Gesa, an expert in private investigations, blamed the mess in the unit on the recruitment process.
Now, it has to, you have to be a tested officer, an officer who has caliber, an officer who has respect for himself. Now, if you are going to send former robbers to chase robbers, and you say you have a flying squad, then you're just lying to yourself.
The unit comprises of police officers who are attached to different regions under flying squad. But at the same time, you had a total of around 20 operatives who are working with us, providing us information.
Charles Romushana believes that the unit was created with political intentions by government, and now it has gone out of hand.
Because this unit was political, it was meant to suppress political dissent. It has now turned on him, it has become politically counterproductive. And
when the Inspector General of Police, Martin Okothochola, had just assumed office, he suspended the unit for reassessment. To Romushan and Igesa, the new move to terminate the operatives clearly exposed failure.
So yeah, do you remember that now? So that's what we'll be talking about today on Kickstarter. And in studios to talk about that and to break that down for us is Mr. Freddie Egesa David. He is a security analyst and also the author of Private Investigation in Uganda. Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for making time. Quite a cold morning this morning. All right. Have we failed to manage this unit of the police, the flying squad? Because it's not the first time that you're seeing them being disbanded.
I think the problem started when we failed to kind of design a concept or have a kind of a picture of what we wanted from this team. So because before you think of before you form a team, you have to look at other countries. You look at England, they have the flying squad is in all countries, like I've always said. But now you look at a situation whereby you have to create a model of what you want, then design accordingly. Now, when you see the way these people were sourced, the way they were recruited, the way they were possibly. I've never heard of any training where they have gone for specialized training. And so once you fail around recruitment and you fail around sourcing and recruitment and even training, then you don't expect good results.
Right.
In fact, to me, I blame the police. I believe that these boys have been misused. Whether they came in for good or bad intentions, they had to be exposed to training and possible orientation so that they get to know what they are about to do and how they should do it. So I'm so surprised that if one says these are policemen, how come that they could not even adhere to the simple police procedures and discipline?
Right.
That's an indicator that they are possibly the majority. Maybe I'm sure there are policemen there, but they must have been suppressed. They must have been overrun by the team that turned the errand because they had not been well sourced, or possibly because they had not benefited from any form of training, counseling and development.
Okay. When you talk about recruitment, what exactly should have gone on with regards to the terms of recruitment and the process of recruitment? When you're recruiting the flying squad operatives, what should happen? What should they be looking for in these people?
I think one, you should look at the nature of a person, his background, his behavior, how he behaves himself, and then you can build on that. His performance, if he has been through ranks, or he may not be a very senior officer, but a capable, obedient, and easy to manage. It should be easy to manage. So you start from there. Then because you know that you're building a force that will be flying, that will be doing things at a very, very supersonic speed, that will need, in fact, they would need very little command and supervision. They should be self-supervising officers who have gone through the tests of time, who have been who are respected, who respect themselves. Now, if you're going to just pick whoever you are picking and then put them wherever, that's what you are seeing.
Right. Yeah. And actually the police came out to say that in that particular unit, fine, there's a group who are actually police and there's a group who are civilians who are just brought on board to make sure that they actually beef up the capacity of the police. So with regards to just bringing civilians into the flying squad, what should happen to ensure that there's thorough background checks? Because I think that's where they actually go wrong, and at the end of the day they end up messing things up.
It is unfortunate that in Uganda we learn from our mistakes. So we kind of commit, or we do mistakes, then we kind of pick a lesson and maybe perfect. It is a bit expensive for the country. What you have to understand is, if you're going to use someone for such operations, there are things you should look at. You should kind of come up with a design of what you want, and then make sure you live by it. I've said this, that these people, the flying squad officers, or whoever has been there, maybe who were former robber, or in whichever he was sourced, who was brought up, misused by the police, because you cannot say that a force has been running for all these years, committing atrocities, and nobody has been there to discipline them, to touch them, to put them in order. A police force or any other force, even militias, have capacity to have that kind of self-disciplining capacity. There should be designs of discipline. Now, if you tell me that these people have been murdered within discipline, who have been their commanders? Have they been commanding themselves? So literally, before I even blame them, I blame the commanders. Because what I know in police is these boys sometimes have been misused to kind of carry out operations carry out operations as their commanders want, because they know that for them they don't have the discipline, they don't have the conscience, they don't have limits. So who has been enriching them to the public? That's where the question should be.
Wow, wow. And you actually mentioned that at times they're misused. and they're given so much power. Now, the question that the public is asking, is the flying squad supposed to be armed?
Yes, because the flying squad is supposed to be dealing with high-level or sophisticated criminals.
Right.
So definitely they should be carrying guns. So the problem is not about the arming. The problem is who you're arming. If you're arming a person and you are not very sure of his behavior, you don't have his history, you don't know how he has been behaving, you don't have command over him, you even don't know how you're supposed to pay him, because who has been paying them? From what vote? Are they like, okay, we have the policemen, the police officers, but what about the majority of flying squad?
So what you're saying is that they're not on the payroll of
They're
police?
not on the payroll of the police. So how are they paid? Are they allowed to scavenge? Are they allowed to survive on criminals? Are they allowed to survive while carrying out operations? These are issues we should interrogate.
Right.
And maybe that now tells us why there's been a lot of indiscipline, because if you have not been paid, then you're a frustrated person. But you're armed and you have been ordered to carry out an operation. Maybe if a suspect hits you, you know, he's hitting me, but I'm not going to get a salary at the end of the day. So you have to come out. It is just, if you're not well disciplined, you'll kind of come back to him and
right.
possibly do what we have been seeing.
So the problems that are there with the flying squad stem from recruitment, lack of training, and also lack of monitoring.
Then payment, remuneration.
And payments.
Nobody pays. I don't know. If you looked at how, maybe, who gets what? Think of a situation that a flying squad officer is supposed to be running almost 24 hours. He's supposed to be on call 24 hours. He's supposed to meet all sorts of criminals. His life is at the edge, and he has no salary. So what do you expect him to do? Yes. So the problem should, in fact, these are, I will call them vulnerable people. They have been used, they have carried out good and possibly bad operations, and they have been thrown back to the public unarmed and unprotected. So who has been using who? Is it the police or the flying squad? Some of whom could have possibly left whatever crimes they are committing and they had changed and said, now we are here to possibly undo what we did.
But let me ask you a question. Should the police even get into recruiting ex-criminals? Is it right?
You know, these are some of the issues we are having with our police, because I think we have so many good people out there. Yes, you may recruit them at a level of informers, but not operatives. Because an informer may stay wherever he is with giving in good information. But the problem is, I think the police has no budget for information. If there is a budget for information, maybe that money is being misused. Because that's what will be feeding those boys. And they would be sent back in their own, sent back in their villages, sent back in their towns, but used profitably to bring in all the information. Because having been criminals at one time, they are very, very capable of knowing who a criminal is, or who is about to commit an offense, or maybe they can even infiltrate their former ranks and pick very good information.
Right.
So, but they should be paid, and then they are sent back. That's how they can be very useful. But if you pull them out, label them, give them guns and radio calls, dispatch them, then you are completely failing in what you want to achieve.
So ex-criminals only need to be given the heart of being informers, full stop.
They should stop there. Because where does the police get the rationale? Where does the police get the heart to trust them? Yeah, because history may repeat itself.
Right.
So you have to be careful about how you monitor them, how you pay them, and to what limit you use them.
It's interesting. There's been conversations, of course, since we saw them being suspended, some of them, of course. There's been a conversation about, is this unit really political, or is it out there to protect the common citizen. What's your take on that? Because like you're saying, most of the assignments they're given are pretty much personal. It will be a police boss who wants something be done, and they're the people who are sent to do these things. So is it a political unit, or is it for the good of the common person?
I think that in Uganda, as politics is sleeping and waking up to fight, there's a lot going on around administration. I believe that they are built for purposes of maybe crime management, but then they have been misused. By whoever, there are people who may not even be in politics and they have used them. There are people who have lost vehicles and they say, why don't you take those suspects for me to flying school so they can be touched a bit and squeezed a bit so that we can get information. Many people have gained out of that type of indiscipline. Mm-hmm. It is not only the politicians, even the usual people. You'd say, but we hear those boys are good, they can extract information. Several Ugandans have done that, several police officers have done that, several politicians have done that. So all of us, to a certain extent, possibly people have used them, but how did they come about? How did the idea come about? And why was it allowed to go to this extent? I think that's where the problem lies.
Wow, wow. And when it comes to just laying them off, before we even go to other units of security, when it comes to laying off such people, who, number one, most of them are criminals. Number two, they have tested the power when they're executing these things, and you just lay them off. Number three, some of them, apparently the news that we're getting is that some of them could also be armed, whether legally or illegally. So when it comes to just disbanding them and just suspending them, what's the process? Do you just tell them, by the way, today there's no job for you? What should you be doing to ensure that they don't turn out to be a risk to the community?
Yeah, there are times when we do things in an erratic way, and maybe we may not bother to read and study the consequences. But you turn them to be a danger to the public, and the public also, the public also becomes a danger to them. Mm-hmm. Because the public is here to say, you have been doing this, we saw one of you doing this, so we should also come back on you. They also say, but we have been possibly earning through our unorthodox ways, and it's like now we cannot earn anymore. Where do we go? What do we do? Because they cannot get a job immediately. Mm-hmm. They cannot possibly pick some. The best way would have been to kind of demobilize them, reorganize them, and send them back, possibly with a package.
With a package?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that we are very sure that they are not disgruntled, because we don't have control over them now. The government does not have control over them, other than looking at them as criminals. But how many are they? There are so many. And of course, they have affiliates. So if you want to kind of do the right thing, what the police would have done was to kind of take it slow, demobilize them, maybe push them into other units because since they have been policemen, right, by implication, and then see how you send them home. Send them back to society. Let them dissolve well in society, like what was done with the ex-soldiers. Mm-hmm. Soldiers were put back. These people, by implications, have been policemen. Mm-hmm. And you cannot just tell them and say, listen, today you have no job. And you have been doing this, you have been doing that. Yes, they should know some of the good things they have done and how they have been carrying out their commands, and then realize that these are human beings. Two, these are ex-criminals. So how should they be handled? Handle them in such a way that they have no reason to resort to the worst. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And we've also had instances, of course, the reason as to why police actually terminated the services of some of these flying squad operatives were because they overstepped the boundary, and at times they actually did their job in a way they were not supposed to do it. So when it comes to disciplining them, would they just have disciplined them instead of terminating them immediately? And when it comes to discipline, what exactly happens in that space?
It's like, I'll just paint a picture for the public. Right. Like if a mother has been sending his 3-year-old son to pick some little money from the father's back, don't think that this boy one time can also turn to the mother's back. Yes. So who oriented them? Who allowed them to go beyond the limits of discipline? Who tolerated them? Who commanded them? All these are questions. How do you have a force that is armed and has which you have no control over? How do they cook up a mind of even attacking another unit where they have, in a matter they would have dissolved and solved around command? The problem is not the operatives. The problem is around command. How do you get to the extent of fear of failing to respect the procedures? Because you have not been trained.
Right.
How do you fail? Because sometimes you have been made or allowed to move with your indiscipline without limit. So now you come up, you take it as a norm of indiscipline. You take it as a way of behavior. So in them, nobody bothered to shape them into officers, but they were just used as a kind of an erratic force.
So does it show that there was lack of systems and structures? Because
Seriously.
if someone can just wake up today and use the flying squad and that person is actually not a boss in the police, does it mean that the structures are failing or lack of the structures thereof?
I think there was a problem of command, there was a problem, of course, of in-depth thinking about the domestic security of our country. There was a situation, you know, people here have one problem. When people are building such a situations, they don't care so much. They don't put their minds to assess and see what they are trying to do and what may be the results of what they are doing. Now, not knowing that tomorrow there will be civilians, tomorrow they have children who are not policemen or who are not army men. Tomorrow they have mothers who are not even within the ranks, who are not armed, and possibly they have to do the best for this country. So it's a situation of our mindset. We do things hurriedly. Maybe people want to get an extra shilling. People want to justify expenditures, and in the process we are muddling up this country. We are literally burning our own feet. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Okay, let's get to the issue of the LDUs, because the same conversation was linked to the LDUs, and the recruitment process is still on, as much as most of them have already been recruited. Of course, the target was 24,000 LDUs. Now, are we likely to see the same cycle in terms of what we're seeing in the flying squad replicated in the LDUs? Remember, the LDUs actually existed a few years back and they were disbanded completely, and now they're back. So in terms of just managing the security units that are meant to actually beef up the formal security structures, what should be happening? And what lessons should we be learning just to ensure that we don't repeat the same and we don't have young people out there who are going to pose a security risk to the communities?
I think when you are dealing with a force, sourcing and recruitment is very important. Training, I talk about the concept, the courses. What are they going to learn? Who is going to train them? Will it be compatible with the domestic security procedures, rules, and knowledge? Because how are you arming them? The first arm you give to anybody you recruit is character. You tend to deal with him. You teach him how to take orders. You teach him how to be disciplined. And then you expose him to other international and national procedures, the legal programs, convention, in several conventions you have, so that he's knowledgeable, so that by the time he's out there, he's well armed to execute. But if you are going to pick anybody and then in the process you are picking, you are creating a product you don't understand.
Right.
I don't have a problem with the way the LDs have been sourced, and I don't possibly I've not looked at the way they are being, how they are being trained, but I believe that the sourcing was okay. They have come from their own locations, and possibly even the villages will be able to kind of give in as much as in the situation of monitoring and intelligence. So let's be a bit optimistic about the LDUs,
okay,
because we believe that they've been well, the sourcing has been okay. We pray that the training also goes well, so that we get a good product.
When you speak of training, how long should these trainings take, and who exactly should be training these people?
Those in the know of particular subjects, like the police officers, even the army can come in on the side of using arms and maybe the tactics of dealing with combat. fighting, engagement, engaging criminals. But also should come, there should be programs for, from human rights officers, maybe like the Commission of Human Rights. They should bring in officers to tell them about the way a human being should be treated. There should be areas where they should get to understand what we call the, assault. If you're dealing with a criminal, what we call, how do you call it? It is a reasonable force. You should not allow yourself to, you should not allow your life to be taken away because you're being so disciplined, but at the same time, you should be able to be conservative about taking away life. You should be able, even if you choose to shoot, you should know where to, you should only incapacitate, don't kill, if you can. But maybe at the extreme, then you can. You're allowed, the law allows you, but it should be at, you should be at pains to take life. You should be at pains to hurt a human being. You should know that you're a force for the people. You're a kind of a civilian force that is going to, it's a kind of a mother force. You are not there to clear, you are there to maintain.
Right,
yes.
to maintain. Yes. And how long should it be taking? Roughly?
6 months to a year, 6 months to 9 months is good enough.
6 months to 9 months.
Yes.
With some practicals in there?
Practicals. Then, of course, there will be refresher courses.
Okay.
There will be, then the command
refresher courses?
Yes, you have to deal, you have to.
Once you started the job?
Yes. After about 4 or 5 months, you can
Does it
keep
happen?
on. It should. It should.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about victims that have been tortured by this particular, flying squad operatives, quote unquote. Do they stand a chance to win cases, justice being served to them? Is there a chance of that happening, especially now that we know that, okay, fine, them that have been terminated are them that were, thought of to have committed crimes. Now, is there a chance that they will get justice now that these people have been put off the hook?
Okay, if they are to sue these people, if you have to sue whoever has been torturing them and beating them, and maybe if they are to add in the state, they should add in government, because some of these guys are not rich. So if you are suing and maybe you are looking for compensation of about 100 million shillings, just don't think that these boys have money. I know a few of them you could have grabbed here and there, but you can say that they have not been earning. They have not been meaningfully earning. So it is very likely that where they started from is where they have gone. They may not have money. So if you have to sue them, yes, for purpose, you have to join in the state.
Right.
Yes, because the state has been responsible for arming them. The state has been responsible government. Government has been responsible for arming them. They have been responsible for dispatching them. They've been responsible for giving them orders to go and operate. I'm sure they have not been operating on their own. So if you are to successfully get a restitution or a kind of justice, then you should also sue the police. Yes.
Wow, okay. Before I let you go, I need your last remarks. Of course, in the papers the day before yesterday, we saw another hit list, and this hit list was for journalists. And of course, it was released by the police. What should be done to ensure that every person in this nation is secured, especially them that are have jobs that are quite risky, especially journalists? Now, this hit list was for journalists. A few weeks ago, it was for them that are in high places, ministers, members of parliament. What should be done to ensure that these people are actually brought to book, and that them that are in this hit list are guaranteed of their security?
Security is like a product you first of all make yourself. The Bible tells us that Jesus said that a thief comes to kill, to steal, and to destroy. Now, if we, like at the first unit, the smallest of units, that's the home. If I'm in a house as me, and I'm just waiting for the police to come and protect me, we have messed up our own security here. We have put very high perimeter walls, so that once a thief jumps in, then the wall works against you, because we should understand our own basic security.
Yes.
Two, you find a man like a Geza, he has no spear in his own house. He's waiting to raise an alarm which will not be answered, then he'll hide under the bed. This will come in, rape his wife, rape his children. Now, we should start as the units at home. We should start with designing our own security. so that people get to know. Let's take out this phobia and of fear, saying, oh no, when the thieves come, when you cooperate, they'll treat you well. Criminals come to kill, to steal and destroy. To me, that is a starting point. I think we should have a program where we tell people how to defend themselves. People should have the basic arms the basic arms means a panga, which is sharpened well, a spear or two. You know, our grandfathers, that's how they used to keep our grandmothers, that's how they used to keep our parents. Today you find a man with only a kitchen knife. So criminals, and you know criminals are very clever. They have passed around the room saying, you know, when a criminal comes, you should treat him well. These days they find you with a katochi. You know katochi is that small phone. They slap you, say next time you should move with a. I mean, criminals are taking this world by storm. Yes. And I think the public, the people, even before, I don't want to overblame the police. We ourselves should know what kind of creates insecurity around ourselves. The way you walk, where you pass, whichever, how you conduct yourself, how you carry your bag. We should get to know we should know areas where we are likely to be attacked and how we should simply and lightly defend ourselves. Then we will call in the police to kind of summarize or maybe beef up. So the duty is with us. Okay. Yes.
We need to bring you back, and we need to create a classroom where you teach us on how to protect ourselves.
Exactly.
Very important conversation. Protect ourselves on the streets, at the homes, at the workplace, wherever we are, how we can just protect ourselves.
Yes. By the time you raise an alarm or you're doing whatever, you should know. Simply that, like with doors these days, thieves know how they come with acid, they come with multiple keys, with these Chinese keys or Dubai master keys, they'll open any padlock, and before you realize someone is on your bed. Now, at least if you have nothing to do, maybe put saucepans around the door so that something will be alerted. You know, there should be a way that
to fight back.
To fight back.
Okay.
To me, that's what I'm telling people. Yes. Before we call the police and call everybody, people should learn to fight back.
Thank you so much, Mr. Freddie David Egesa, security analyst and the author of Private Investigation in Uganda. Keep your views coming. The hashtag is morning@NTV. That's on Twitter. You can also stream us live and drop in your comments. NTV Uganda. That's on Facebook and YouTube pages. We'll be bringing him back to teach us all that, how to protect ourselves. Keep it here. Morning@NTV still continues.
You're watching Morning at NTV.